Hi, this is Jen and Carlie with Asheville Food and Beverage United, and we're here today to talk about the parking crisis for downtown workers who are having to pay absurd prices for parking, between $60 to $120 a week, as well as dealing with some dangerous situations parking downtown. So we would like to share some stories with you because we want everybody to know what's going on, because it's not right and something has to be done. So Carlie, what do you have to say about this?
I have been working in downtown for a couple years now, have been parking downtown for several years, and I've experienced personally a lot of things that, a lot of these things, safety issues and especially the cost. In my personal experience, I have had to pay, I've definitely paid $120 at least every month. Yes. Yeah, it's $6 a day to park for me, and I get into work at 3:30. A lot of the back of house people will get into work at 1 or earlier to set up the restaurants, and they are paying much more than us. Recently, I think about a month or so ago, 2 months ago now, they changed all of the parking garages downtown to cost $20 a day from $10 a day, and that has pushed people from the parking garages onto the streets, and it's been much harder to find parking and costs more if you can't find a parking spot on the street. So in my life, I was wanting to, I was bartending the last 10 years, decided after the pandemic I wanted to take a step back and do a easier job, so I got a host position at a restaurant downtown and was getting paid roughly $23, sometimes more depending on tips, but during the times where I was getting paid $23 an hour, I could not barely afford to pay parking, and I live just outside of the range of being able to walk into town. So, and I don't feel safe bicycling because I have money in my pocket, or I'm just alone and a female, and I just don't feel very safe like bicycling that long and on hills and things that I might not be physically capable of doing. So I decided in the end, after paying $120 or more a month in parking, that I just needed to train as a server and get paid more, which has affected my energy levels outside of work. You know, we shouldn't have to make life decisions and personal decisions to change our lifestyles in order to afford being able to get to work and put your car somewhere safely at work. I also moved in with a roommate to accommodate for the cost of parking, and then on top of all of this, you constantly get tickets because there is a 2-hour cap for the parking spots downtown for street parking, which I have been told is to allow tourists for parking to move around so that tourists can access the restaurants that they have reservations at or just access downtown. But that also makes it very difficult for workers because we have to be attentive to our phones every 2 hours while we are working to update our parking costs. So you get tickets pretty often. Those cost $20 every time you get them, and if you don't pay them on time, they go up to $60, and then they go up to $90, and it just becomes really quickly unaffordable, and the parking committee has very little empathy for us about the affordability and time of the time consistency of parking. I've tried to talk to them and haven't really had a lot of success thus far. Hopefully soon. Right on. Yeah.
Have you heard any stories about the danger of parking downtown? I've heard a couple of stories of, people getting assaulted on the way to their cars, getting robbed because they have cash, especially women. And on our Facebook group, we have had people starting to organize groups to walk people to their cars, because it's become so unsafe. We just can't walk alone.
Yeah.
So people are volunteering to walk others home. What have you heard about that?
That's another thing I have personally experienced trying to park on Cherry Street or in Montford and walking in to my job during the daytime is usually fine. Uncomfortable, but fine. Uncomfortable at times, just depending on what's happening downtown. But yeah, downtown is unpredictable. We have a lot of different people who are using the space downtown, and it is, if I don't personally have to carry cash, but I don't feel for my physical safety that it's safe for me to walk through parts of downtown by myself. Such a long distance. I've definitely been followed downtown after work, and everything was fine. I haven't been attacked, but I just don't, it's not a safe situation, especially if you have cash in your pockets, because people know that there are service industry workers downtown, and they will target us. And so I on Cherry Street, I've definitely had to like navigate around some things or do another loop around Montford and come back on to Cherry Street where my car is parked to figure out how to get to my car safely. I haven't had a problem, but I stopped parking in Montford and Cherry Street because I just don't feel safe doing that, even though that would be a free form of parking for me.
Right.
Yeah, not to mention also something is very important is the weather downtown, or the weather in Asheville around 4 or 5 p.m. when we all go into work. In the service industry, it usually kind of monsoons or rains, and I have been caught in some really bad, like random quick storms that have come through. I was walking down Wall Street one day, and a lady got struck by lightning, like right in front of me.
Oh my God.
So you can't avoid walking on Wall Street sometimes because there's no parking there, but you're parking a mile away from where you work, and you have to walk through weather as well, which increases the danger, especially in the mountains, because weather is unpredictable here.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of issues that we're dealing with downtown, that workers are having to deal with, and that's why we just went ahead and started a petition pressuring the county, the city, both to do something about this to help workers out. So our petition is calling for free or even low price parking passes for downtown workers, as well as expanded access to public transportation, because that would also be a viable option if we had transportation available to us after we get off of work late at night. So we're going to be delivering our petition to the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners meeting on September 6th at 5 p.m. And before that, we're going to have a rally outside the courthouse to gather everybody to show how much support we have from workers for this petition. And the rally is going to be at 4 o'clock until about 5 o'clock. Then we're going to head over there and present this to the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners, where we would also like to encourage workers to come and make public comment, expressing their support and telling their stories about why this issue is so important to them.